So lambda functions, yep, they're like anonymous functions similar to that of like fat arrow functions, except they're like only in one line. So for example, if we were to do times 2, typically we'd write it like this, but we can convert this into a lambda function by called like multiply 2. So I'm assigning a variable, and it explicitly needs a keyword called lambda. So you notice how it already knows what that is, or it already auto completed it. So you need the lambda keyword first, followed by your arguments or your parameters. So like number, that's going to be my input, and then whatever actual calculation I want to do or actual code will come after the colon. So colon num times 2. So if I were to run that, well, first, yeah, let's just do multiply 2. And if I come down here, I might need to print that. But if I run Python lambda, yeah, I'll have to add a print statement. Come down here, I get 4. So just know that these exist out here called lambda. But if I wanted to do, for another example, like add 2 numbers, I can do a lambda. And if a function or a method accepts multiple arguments, I can separate them by commas. Num1, num2, I can even do like num3, num4, and then colon, and then num1 plus num2. So, and then I can run that. We'll actually print add 2 numbers. Let's do 5 and 8. So I come down here, number Python lambda, I get 13. Questions about the lambda function, like the lambda keyword and what a lambda function is.
Okay, so you don't have to include return or anything.
Nope. And if you need to, like, it's very like limited in like what it's capable of doing. You can't do like what we just did in like some pairs as a lambda function. It's kind of relatively limited in scope.
Is there like an ideal time where you're like, I really want to use a lambda function 9 times out of 10 in this situation?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So for example, the map function, let's look at what the actual map function Python. I don't like that. I want to read the docs. Real Python. This is like this website. Real Python is really, really good reference. So, so let's look at the Python's map. Is a built-in function that allows you to process and transform all the items in an iterable without using explicit for loop. So essentially, it takes in 2 arguments. Where is it? What the hell? Where is it? So it takes in a list, a function and a list. So for example, like here, we have this function called square, and we want to multiply or square each number in the function. So this is actually a good example. I'm just going to copy this over. So it returns a new list. Oh. All right. So where is it? So if I wanted to print squared, so let's just kind of look through. So this method called square takes in a number and finds the exponent. We have this list of numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The map function takes in a function. such as square, and a list of numbers, and it iterates through each of one of these numbers and multiplies each number or finds the exponent of each number and then returns a new list. So let's just kind of look at what that looks like. Now we might show you something. So notice how we have this map object. It's literally just returning what this map, the built-in method is. So what you need to do is convert that map object into a list and clear it. Now you can actually see what the return statement is. So again, the map takes in a function and takes in a list of numbers. It iterates through each number in the list, passing that number into the function, such as square, and outputs a new list of values based off of whatever this function is. So now that you know what a lambda function is, how can we convert this into a lambda function and put it in place of square? So for example, you can do lambda colon number dot 2. I think that's it. Why is it? Num is not defined. Oh, notice how, there we go. And syntax is all jacked up. So I literally just converted this squared function into a lambda function. If I clear that and I run that again, I get the same output. So this is where lambda functions come in handy, is when like using map where the functions are relatively simple. Just throw a lambda function in there.
So would it be safe to assume that the map function is in Python is equivalent to the for each method in JavaScript?
No, because the for each doesn't return a list. So I think there is in fact a map function very similar function JavaScript. So the map function in JavaScript is identical, essentially identical to the map function in Python. So in here for JavaScript, actually, touch JavaScript built. So yeah, like map function in JavaScript is very similar. Oh, what is going on? So if I had an array of 1, 2, 3, 4, or like so, I did numbers dot map, and it takes in some number and returns. How do you do exponent in JavaScript? Is it the same?
Yes.
Yeah, let's see what that looks like. So when you do a map, you always should assign a new variable, because this returns a new array. So I need to assign that array, let new numbers. And if I console log new numbers, come down here, node, JavaScript, built-in methods, I get like the same output as if I run Python Lambda. See? Very similar. Map function in Python, very similar to the map function in JavaScript. All right. So let's talk about another function, built-in method called filter. And so filter returns a new list of elements based on a true condition. So for example, I'm gonna bring, and very similar in JavaScript as well. So I've got a names list here, which is a list of everyone's name in our cohort. And I want to write last names. And I want to filter out, or I want to return a list of names whose last names start with an S. So we've got Jack, we got Mark, we got Musa, we got Steven. Oh, and we got Alexander. Great. So so the filter function, again, takes in a function and also a list of names. Names list. So this function here, I can use a lambda function for this as well. So lambda takes in a last name, or I guess it would take in a full name because it iterates through every passes in each name. And now I want to extract the last name of each person and grab the first letter of the last name and see if it equals S. And that's what we'll return. And then it'll add that to an array, and then it'll return that array. So I can say like full name dot split, which turns that into an array. I can grab the last element in that array by doing -1. I can lower that array so that doesn't take in, so I can convert all these to a lowercase. I can also convert it to an uppercase. And I can grab the first element of the last name, which is this character right here. And I can say, hey, if that equals an S, then that's true. Assign it to a new array. And now I can do print last name and clear that. In Python Lambda. Again, I get that filter object, so I need to convert that into a list. I can even just put that whole thing inside of a list, like so, and clear that. And there we go. I've got everyone's with last name of S. Yeah, right here, I'm just grabbing everyone's full name. I'm splitting it, so turning it into an array. So element 1 or index 0, index 1. I can grab either index 1, but if some people have like three word names, like first name, middle name, last name. But so this -1 just grabs the last element of regardless of that last element of an array, regardless of length. I'm lowering it. So now every character is lowered here. And now I'm grabbing the value at index 0, which would be B. And I'm seeing if that equals S. If that's true, then it adds that person's full name to a separate list.
What does the lower do?
I'm sorry?
What does the lower do?
So lower will automatically lower each character within this string. So I can also make it upper to just.
Like lowercase?
Yep, yeah, sorry. So it makes it lowercase.
Tom, if you omitted that dot lower, and you just ran and you were looking for the S, would it still output the same?
So if I did that or that, what was your? Sorry, you're on mute.
My apologies. Yeah, I was just saying, like, if you instead of actually lowercasing that first index or that first character, like lowercasing it, like if you were just searching for the S, like if you just omitted that entirely, would you still be able to output the whole name or no? Do you have to specify?
No, so this just lowers this value here.
Right.
And if I omitted this portion of it, then I'm grabbing, I'm grabbing this value still, but it's not lowercase.
Yeah, so like if you specified uppercase, right, instead of having to,
So if I explicitly made sure that whatever I'm testing it against is uppercase, so these are all uppercase, but you know,
okay, okay,
so this would work only because every last name in this array has an uppercase last name and first name.
okay.
But yeah, a lot of times people don't uppercase their last names and stuff.
So hey Tom, when you're chaining some of these together, splitting it, then lowering it, does that happen in order? So if you lowercased it first, you know, so for my name, Vincent Brunstad, that would lower the entire value, both first name and last name, and then it would take the last value. Whereas right now, you're only lowercasing the last name.
Yep. So if I did lower first and then split, so I'm lowering the entire full name and then I'm splitting it and I'm grabbing that. Yeah. So this also should work. Yeah. So only difference is I was lowering the last name, whereas here I'm lowering the entire full name. So I can do the same thing instead of like grab the first index if I wanted to see who has first names that start with the letter J. There we go. Cool.
Could you also select the single character and then the lower function?
Yeah, you can definitely do that as well. So I can do that by grabbing that first character and lowering it. And that this should be the same output. Yeah. It all just depends on how you want to, what order you want to do it in. Awesome.
That might be a little bit more efficient.
Yeah, it would be because it doesn't have to lower every single character, it can only lower one. All right. So last one, reduce. Creates a single value that aggregates all values in the list. So here with the reduce function, so if you look at reduce function Python, let's look at the real Python. Actually, let's look at the docs. If there's even on here. Oh, reduce. So essentially, if you want to use the reduce function, you have to import this funct tools module. Function tools. And so, for example, if you have a list, where's my list? My list, I can do, if I wanted to sum all these together, sum of list, I can say func tools dot reduce. It takes in a lambda. Again, these are all good use cases for lambda when the initial function is something relatively straightforward. Lambda takes in two values, num1, num2, colon, and it adds together num1 plus num2. And then it also takes in a list. So if I print sum of list, let's clear that. Oh, I get 42. Let's run that again. Or 46.
This one doesn't return a map object. It just returns a list by default. Whatever you feed into it, you get back.
Yeah, it returns a single value of whatever. It iterates through each value, passes probably two values into it, and and just returns whatever you want of all, like an aggregate of all those values. All right. Let's talk about, so those are just some things that you might see these Lambda functions and these built-in methods, map, filter, reduce. JavaScript also has equivalent of map, filter, reduce. I encourage you to look at those as well. You'll see map occasionally, reduce rarely, and filter. Map is more popular than those other two. Has anybody heard of list comprehension?
Yes.
What is list comp?
It's kind of like the only way I've used it is like basically replacing a for loop, so you can kind of have it directly convert like some iterable numbers or something you want to iterate into a list with a new kind of like affecting variable. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, yeah. So list comprehension, if you want to create a list really quickly of like 1 through 100, normally you'd be like, all right, I can create, a for loop, add each value to a list. But I'm going to do, so it takes in, where is it? It takes in, where to go? There's, yeah, it's almost like a one-liner thing. And you could add on to it. But yeah, let's kind of show you. So simple, it takes in, what is it? An expression. And let's see. I thought there was like a good, oh Jesus. Yeah, let's just kind of show you what it looks like. Whoop. So it takes in X for in range of, just say like, if you want 0, or just say like 100, or what 0 through 100 for X, and X in range in 1 through 100. So if I print the full list, clear Python list comp, I can grab a list. I can create an entire list. But I can also add like almost like if else statements in here. So I can say, hey, maybe I just want if I want a list between 1 and 100, but if it's divisible by 15, yeah, actually, I only want let's create a list of just odd numbers. So you can do that. There's an easier way to do it just by doing 2. Clear in here. Whoop. Or that's even numbers. Sorry. Does anybody know what the third argument is in the range method?
Step.
Yeah, step. So let's add like another one that's divisible by, I don't want to say, if it's divisible by 3 and 5, kind of like the FizzBuzz one. So FizzBuzz equals, I can create, say, X for X in range 1 through 100. If X is, sorry, X modulus 5 equals 0, and X modulus, what is it, 3 equals 0, something like that, something similar to FizzBuzz. If I print FizzBuzz, clear. So it gives me a list, hey, of only values that are divisible by 5 and 3. You can also do
The purpose of the variable x right before the for loop.
right here, because it's saying, say,
Yes.
X in or for, I guess it doesn't work like this. I actually don't know what the specific purpose of X.
That's essentially the return variable that we're going to work with, and then it's telling us it's coming from X in the range.
That makes sense. Yeah. So it's like X for X in range, if X. Yeah, so I guess this is the return variable.
So you could like return x plus 1.
I don't know. You can try that, but
No, that's a
no, that's,
constant.
yeah, that's gonna. Oh yeah.
No, the first X is what we're using over on the right-hand side of the expression. The second X is just telling us where that X is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
You can also apply expressions to that first X, like you could like do it to upper or whatever.
Yeah, that +1 did work.
Yeah, it did work. Oh. So let's just do like num.
Yeah, the first num would modify like the output once you've hit all the test
Gotcha.
conditionals.
That makes sense. I rarely ever use list comprehension. Where is it? And then you can also do like, yeah, like this is the output of what these are. So for example, let's just, if you
Hey
maybe,
Tom, did we forget ternary statements?
yeah, we did, and we'll cover it.
Okay.
So for example, if we want the output of these values to equal like fizzbuzz, not or, let's do and again. Whoop. Print fizzbuzz. Like fizzbuzz, 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 but yeah. And if you wanted to, so we can do fizzbuzz if X, so I can actually move this over. Hey, return fizzbuzz if X or if num colon 5 or modulus 5 equals 0. Else, let's just add false. I'm just making stuff up now for num in range of, so you can do like an if else statement here. So return fizzbuzz if num is modulus 0, num modulus 5 equals 0 and num modulus 3 equals 0. Else return, I can just say like return num for num in range, blah, blah, blah. So I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got fizzbuzz at those various values.
I've got a question, Tom. Can we
Yeah.
also include like an elif in that as well? I'm assuming.
I'm sorry, what?
Can we include like, you know, an if, elif, and else in that as well?
I don't think you can include all of those.
So I have a question. So because the first value like would be x num or fizzbuzz, can you include more than one value in the beginning and then test for it? So fizz buzz and then fizzbuzz in a,
Like add another, like, sorry,
I think you could put an array there.
like here, like another list comprehension.
we'll just add two strings and then test for them. Like, I'm just curious. So one string comma and then another string.
So like here,
Yeah,
and
like that.
do
And then,
something like that.
yes, and then do something with it.
Yeah.
Or is it saying, oh, imbalance in text? Okay.
Yeah. You can go pretty deep into these, but like I've never seen somebody write this out, like if they actually needed to, just because it's not that readable. Again, you want to make your code readable, but I have seen things similar to like shorter, like shorter list comprehension expressions and all of that.
I think you could have an array fizzbuzz comma num and return that array.
Yeah. So as somebody said, let's talk about ternaries. Does anybody know what a ternary is?
It's like an if then statement, like one line.
Yep. So you can be like, hey, if I can like write if x is greater than 5, let's actually do x equals, I'll use the example. Y is x equals donuts, y equals 9. Then we can do else x equals bagels. So we have an if else statement like that, but we can also make this a one-liner. So if I run that, I can print x, print y, just for the sake of time. Print x, print y. Just want to make sure. Python lambda. None.
Because you're comparing the X to donuts, not setting.
Oh, yep, thank you. So you can actually create this into a one-liner called a ternary. So like if, sorry, x equals donuts, if y is greater than 5, else bagels. So it's like, hey, make x equals donuts if y is greater than 5, else assign it to bagels. So if I clear that, get the same.
Can you keep going with else if?
Else if, can you? I don't think so. Oh,
What happened to the ternary statements with the question mark and the colon?
so that's in JavaScript specifically.
Oh, okay. Then
Yep.
I'm mixing. Yep. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah. So, and we'll cover those at a later time. You'll see those again especially once we hit React. All right. All right. Last, let's talk about try except values or try except. So if I have a function or try, so except. So what happens is, hey, this try except blocks of code, it comes into this try statement and it says like, hey, try to execute this code. A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals donuts. And then we can do D equals A plus B. A equals, I'm sorry, E equals A plus C. And if we do that, comes in here we're assigning these values. A plus B, what's this value going to be? What's the value of D?
The 3.
Yep, so this will equal 3. Now what's the value of E?
It's going to throw an error.
Yep, so we're going to get probably an error. So what this does, it's going to try to complete this code. If there's an error in here, it's going to jump down to this except block. Print, there was an error. So if I clear that, it prints there was an error. If C was like 5, clear, we didn't get any errors. So, which is good. That means the code executed, it's all good. So we have a try except, you'll see that a lot. There's also, you can keep going, you know, try except else. If there's like, if everything works out correctly, so try this. And then once it's successful, print success. So if donuts was, 5, so this block of code executes and it's successful, it's going to jump down to here. Success.
So is there a favorite way to loop back? Like if we're accepting input, then we do a try and we get an exception. What's a favorite way to loop back?
I've never done that before. They've never had to. I've never been in that scenario with a problem where it run through a for loop. It keep doing the try except until some input.
The input would be within the try. Are you saying if we hit the exception, it does the try again?
No, it doesn't. It just it execute, or the code stops executing.
Is there a throw in Python?
I think that would be. Oh, like if there's an error or something, yeah, there is. Yeah, there's like a throw exception, I believe. I have to re-look into that, but yeah, there is like a throw and error exception. So we have a try, except, and then regardless. So Don, I think this might be where you might want to loop back through or execute some other function, is finally. So this is automatically executed afterwards. This is automatically executed regardless of success or failure. So if this runs, clear. So print success. This is automatically executed regardless of success or failure. And if it's donuts, clear. There was an error. So it came in here, this except block, and then it automatically does this finally. You'll rarely see these else's and finallys in programming. You might see them occasionally, but I've never seen them before. It's usually just try excepts. So that is that. It's 12:01. I'm gonna